Unfinished topics. Do you remember?
How does the debate between the Pharisees and the Sadducees relate to our topic? Has God left it to us to determine how to understand a high day and the weekly Sabbath? Is first fruits the same as a wave sheaf offering?
Sadducees and Pharisees disagree.
During the Second Temple period, 165 to 150 BCE, the Pharisees and Sadducees emerged. They disagreed on the date of first fruits because they interpreted the phrase "the day after the Sabbath" in Leviticus 23:11 differently. The Sadducees defined it as the weekly Saturday Sabbath, while the Pharisees defined it as the first day of unleavened bread. After the destruction of the temple, the Sadducees faded away, while the Pharisees transitioned into Rabbinic Judaism, and the Pharisaic calculation became the permanent standard for modern Rabbinic Judaism. One may wonder why two main religious and political sects within ancient Jewish society, reading from the same Hebrew scriptures, could not agree on whether first fruits fell on Nisan 16 or the first day after the seventh-day Sabbath. Would God leave it to people to interpret His design as they wished? In the previous video, I showed the difference between the seventh-day Sabbath and the festival Sabbaths, but my analysis was based on the latest literal English translation of the Hebrew Scriptures, the Legacy Standard Bible. However, I want to make sure I understand it correctly. The best way to figure it out is to consult the Hebrew Bible, which is free from the outside influences of the Pharisees, Sadducees, or other groups. Who understood the Hebrew Scriptures better, the Pharisees or the Sadducees? More importantly, how does God want me to understand it? Feel free to pause the video now to look over the details. It was to be expected that the dates for special days in the festival of unleavened bread and other festivals were set for specific days of the Hebrew calendar, and that they fell on different days of the week because the calendar began on different days of the week when the new moon was spotted. But when Moses described all God's appointed times, he used two different words: Mikra and Shabbath.
Words in Hebrew. Weekly Sabbath.
When God said, "For 6 days work may be done, but on the seventh day there is a Sabbath of complete rest," he obviously talked about the weekly Sabbath, almost word for word from the Ten Commandments. And the word used to refer to it was Shabbath.
Wave sheaf offering.
When God said, "And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh for you to be accepted, on the day after the Sabbath the priest shall wave it," he used the same word Shabbath.
Festival of Weeks.
When God described how to calculate the date of the Festival of Weeks, he said, "You shall also count for yourselves from the day after the Sabbath, from the day when you brought in the sheaf of the wave offering, there shall be 7 complete Sabbaths. You shall count 50 days to the day after the 7th Sabbath." In both cases he used the word Shabbath, and both days fell on the day after the weekly Shabbath, Sunday.
The Day of Atonement.
When God announced the most holy day of the year, the Day of Atonement, he said, "It is to be a Sabbath of complete rest to you, and you shall humble your souls. On the 9th of the month at evening, from evening until evening you shall keep your Sabbath." Again, in both cases he used the word Shabbath. In addition, he said that this is a day of complete rest, as in the Ten Commandments, even though it falls on any day of the week, not necessarily on the weekly Sabbath.
Peculiar case.
In all other cases, God used the word mikra to describe his appointed times except for the seventh-day Sabbath, which he also called mikra. This case has no influence on our topic. It is shown here only for completeness.
Could it be clearer? I wonder.
Given the clear distinction between the seventh-day Sabbath, referred to as Shabbath, and all other high days, referred to as mikra, puzzles me why Pharisees, whose native language is Hebrew, could not see that wave offerings must fall on the day after Shabbath, that is, the first day of the week. Below is a diagram showing all special days on the Hebrew calendar.
Special days.
Feel free to pause the video now to look over the details.
Special days.
Feel free to pause the video now to look over the details.
Additional info.
The Day of Atonement, generally known as Yom Kippur, is Shabbat, regardless of the day of the week it falls on, and all work is strictly forbidden on that day. It may be regarded as the mother of all high days. The wave sheaf offering is also called first fruits. In fact, there are two rituals called first fruits, both of which are wave offerings. The first, also known as the wave sheaf offering, is celebrated during the festival of unleavened bread, and the latter first fruits is celebrated during the festival of weeks, also known by its modern name Pentecost. It consists of 2 loaves of leavened bread being waved. Both celebrations of first fruits occur one day after the Shabbat. I marked Tishri 21 and Tishri 22 as high days because the Hebrew scripture is unclear about which day is a high day.
Look again.
Look again at the diagram and focus on the 2 first fruits. Both occur after the Sabbath.
Apply to our case.
Now we need to apply to our case the unambiguous names Mikra and Shabbath, designed by God millennia ago and recorded in the Hebrew Tanakh. Feel free to pause the video now to look over the details.
First fruits on Sunday. Is it really?
It was a rather strange concept to ask people to celebrate certain events on a day that does not fall on any of God's special days in the lunar solar calendar. One may wonder whether this is really God's intention. People who did not question God's design, such as the Sadducees, held firmly that the wave sheaf offering should be offered on the day after the Sabbath, Shabbath. Pharisees argued that it was better to offer the wave sheaf offering the day after the high day. When God gave instructions on how to calculate the day of the festival of weeks, he first pointed to the wave sheaf offering and described it precisely, from the day after the Sabbath, from the day when you brought in the sheaf of the wave offering. With this statement, God confirmed that the wave sheaf offering was to be celebrated on the first day of the week, our Sunday. Feel free to pause the video now to look over the details. The date of the Festival of Weeks, when the celebration of the latter first fruits was to take place, should be calculated as follows: count 50 days to the day after the 7th Sabbath. The wave offering again fell on the first day of the week, Sunday, and was described as the day after the Sabbath. The common design between both days of the wave offering becomes apparent, but this time, people offered 2 loaves of leavened bread. Another strange concept appears at this point. The festival lasted only 1 day, and God requested that all adult males come to Jerusalem. Obviously, God had something special in mind. One may ask why God decided that the days of the wave offerings had to fall on Sunday, the first day of the week. And why did he not say that the wave offerings needed to be offered on the first day of the week, but made it a strange way, the next day after the Sabbath?
What next?
I will continue this important topic in the next video. We will explore what God had in mind when he designed a celebration of first fruits to take place not on his day, but on a day after.
The sign of Jonah. When the days begin.
When God created our universe, he called the light day, and the darkness he called night. A few days later, God created lights to separate the day from the night, and we know that it was not the moon but the sun that makes a clear division between day and night. Therefore, daylight begins when the sun rises and ends when it sets. A short time after the day ends, night begins and continues until sunrise, when the next day begins. Although the times of sunrise and sunset constantly change, they are the best dividers of day and night, as God designed them to be. The times of sunrise and sunset vary with geographic location, altitude, and the time of year. Although it takes a few minutes from the moment the sun's disk touches the horizon to its total disappearance beyond the horizon at sunset, and in reverse at sunrise, as it appears to the observer in Jerusalem, these events are the most accurate and sufficient time markers, especially when we consider the period of 3 days and 3 nights in the sign of Jonah, 6 consecutive and continuous periods.
Jewish leaders not satisfied.
Yeshua performed many miracles that should be recognized as divine acts, including raising people from the dead. A few weeks before the Passover, Yeshua resurrected Lazarus, whose body was already decomposing and stinking. Yet the Jewish leaders did not recognize these acts as proof of Yeshua's divinity. In response, Yeshua promised them the only sign, proof, greater than any other miracle he had performed, but he did not say what it would be. He only said it would be the sign of Jonah, for just as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the sea monster, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. How long is 3 days and 3 nights?
How long is 3 days and 3 nights?
Feel free to pause the video now to look over the details.
Converting to 3 24-hour days. Is it the same?
Supporters of Friday crucifixion convert 3 days and 3 nights to 3 24-hour days, explaining that it is the same time but in a different form. Next, they refer to Queen Esther and claim that Esther's case shows that in Jewish culture, part of a day is considered the whole day. They do not explain which part of which day is considered part of the whole day, and in whose eyes this assessment is true and why. Was it God who received a quota of prayers for the 3rd day and prompted Esther to go and see the king in the morning, or was it Esther who decided to see the king because she was sure the people prayed enough? Should she see the king after people completed praying, as New English translations teach, and ignoring literal translations that render the verse differently? I could not work out what people mean when they refer to Esther. If anyone knows the answers to my questions, please leave them in the comments. When the period of 3 days and 3 nights is converted into 3 24-hour days, and when both external days are trimmed by an unexplained formula to suit the desires of supporters of Friday crucifixion, this is what we get in contrast to what Yeshua said.
Same or not the same?
Feel free to pause the video now to look over the details.
Same or not the same?
Feel free to pause the video now to look over the details.
First day in the tomb. Or maybe first night.
When Joseph of Arimathea came to Pilate to ask for the body of Yeshua, it was evening. Evening fell sometime after sunset, 30 to 40 minutes later. He took the body from the cross, wrapped it in a clean cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb. Because days in Hebrew culture begin and end at sunset, the body of Yeshua was not in the heart of the earth on the same day he was crucified, but on the next day. None of the eyewitnesses would miss this detail, which determines the day Joseph laid Yeshua's body in the tomb. Certainly, it was not the day he died. Why do so many people fail to see it?
Not the same day.
Feel free to pause the video now to look over the details.
Same or not the same?
Feel free to pause the video now to look over the details.
Conversion failed. How sad.
Whether converted or not, whether Queen Esther or King Esther, whether part of a day is considered a whole day or not, the first day in the heart of the earth is not the day Yeshua died.
Help is coming. Really?
Some people begin counting time from the 9th hour, when Yeshua died. But to be in the stomach of the fish 3 days and 3 nights or in the belly of the sea monster means exactly in. Not being in the water next to the fish, not hanging on its tail, not about to be swallowed, but inside the stomach, as every child can understand it.
Failed again. No wonder. Conclusion. So simple.
If Yeshua was on the cross when he died, not in the heart of the earth, then he was not in the heart of the earth until he was in the heart of the earth, wasn't he? And that took place after sunset.
On the next video. Getting more exciting.
Why would God call all adult males to come to Jerusalem for just one day, when some had to finish reaping wheat and others had to continue harvesting dates, figs, early grapes, etc.? What did God have in mind when he decided that the day of the wave offering had to fall on Sunday, instead of the Sabbath, his day? Why did God say the next day after the Sabbath rather than the first day of the week? Why did the latter first fruits also have to be on Sunday, the same day of the week as the early first fruits? Why do so many people have problems understanding the period of time 3 days and 3 nights?